Okay, I think the last coat of polyurethane is on the butcher block. I'm going to walk through how we did it. I don't do this frequently enough to remember the right way of doing it. I think I probably learned some things this time. So this is, I think, the third coat, and my process has been, it's evolved a little bit. So the first thing I did was sand with 220. I'm not going to move a whole lot because it's really dusty in here, and I want this to finish nicely and it's calm, so I'm not going to kick up a lot of dust. But um, not a great environment for doing poly. There's a lot of dust. There's been bugs. But anyways, sanding helps. So sand first with about 220. I think I might have tried hitting it with a little bit, maybe even 120 initially. And on the very first layer I put down, I tried to wipe it down with a damp rag to, draw out the grain. And I'm not really happy with what happened there. I think this area over here was a lot more damp than other areas, and I don't know if just the grain is different there or if it actually did draw out a little bit more of that grain, but it just didn't feel right. I couldn't get it damp equally everywhere, and I didn't feel like I was doing it right. So I don't know. Your mileage may vary on that. I know people recommend it, but I don't think I would do that again. The grain came out just fine. So, anyways, first coat, sanded, and then wiped it down with, I guess this is, I can't think of what it's called, cheesecloth with, it's like impregnated with wax, so it picks up a bunch of dust. I think the best method here is probably to have a bristle brush on the end of your shop vac and really just scrub it, brush it down really good and break up all that dust. So what I ended up doing uh, by the time I was done is I would sand first and sand pretty thoroughly. You actually see it break down. It gets white and chalky. It's just plastic. It's polyurethane just breaking down and actually getting chalky. So you can sand quite a bit actually. And then I would just wipe it down with a rag, get all the main dust off of it. Then I would wipe it with the tack cloth. Um, and then on the last two coats, I actually dampened a paper towel with mineral spirits and wiped it down with, an oily mineral spirits that picked up all the dust. I could wipe all around it. And people even recommend to start your brush with mineral spirits on it. So, and I actually thinned the polyurethane with a little bit of mineral spirits when I started. So, it's not the end of the world if it's got a little bit of mineral spirits on it. I don't think. Maybe somebody will correct me if they've done this before, but seemed to go down really nicely. The other big tip is just go slow. Go slow with the brush. I got a good brush. This is like the only brush our Ace Hardware had that was an all natural brush. The one tip I saw was get an all natural brush, and I think it probably made a difference. I started the very first coat without that, but ended all the others with these. I don't normally make a big deal about this, but I noticed how these are actually made compared to the Ace Hardware ones, and I don't know if it's because they're made in America or not, but they're really high quality. And I've had pretty brushes before, but I never really taken the time to notice how good they are. And they're definitely way better than the premium Ace brand. Just little things like if you take this apart, the copper has like I said copper, but actually this one is not copper. This one must be like stainless. Let me get out of here and actually show you. The one I looked at when I compared like kind of apples to apples had a lot more. This has two, but the one I looked at I think was a 3-inch wide brush. Had 3 or 4 tacks across the back. Yeah, this one has 3. Whereas all the ones I saw from Ace only had 2, and the handles weren't symmetrical. The way they'd been sanded and cut was not symmetrical. So, anyways, it's probably worth to buy something good there, especially if you're going to take care of it. So I had it all wrapped up there. I'll do that again. But when I finished, I just used the mineral spirits that I had been storing the brush in. I put a little paper or a little plastic bag in it with mineral spirits to just store it between coats so that I didn't have to clean it up every single time. And then at the end, cleaned it really good, kind of sloshed it around in there, and then dabbed it off, and I'll just let it dry, and then hang it in its paper case there, so it keeps its form. And hopefully this brush will last a really long time. I've got brushes that I think, I've done varying. I've had a varying track record of taking care of them, but I think these are actually, there's a Lowe's Home Source, but here's a Purdy that I've probably used this I don't know, half a dozen times. So it's probably worth getting good stuff if you're willing to take care of it. All right. Next tip is go slow. So when you're brushing it on, really, really slow strokes. Let the oil come out of, or let the polyurethane come out of the brush. Let it lay down smoothly. The faster you go, the more bubbles you pick up. You can see there's some little specks. I don't know if that's dust or bubbles, but it seems when it dries, it seems to dry pretty smooth. This is a semi-gloss, so it'll dry much less shiny than this. And all those little imperfections end up kind of disappearing. The other tip is I did 2 coats on the other side. Obviously didn't care about that as much. It's going to be completely hidden. But I really focused on the face here, which is going to be exposed, and the face over here, which is going to be exposed. And when I did that, I think really the final coat was the best. I had a little bit of drip underneath, which I was really careful in the final coat to do the top, run a brush very carefully along the side, and then along the front, and kind of connect this front edge. I want kind of a hard protective cover on that front edge. I want to make sure it wasn't too thin on that edge, because that's going to wear more than anything else. And then I just took a paper towel and wiped underneath. Not that it's a big deal, but just to get drips, so there's not big runs down the underneath side. It's getting a little splotchy already because it's beginning to dry. I think that's what's happening, is just it's thinner in some spots, so it actually begins to dry. It can be really tempting on the early parts that you've started. So if you look like right there, you can kind of see a spot that's drying. And your tendency can be, oh, I missed a spot, I got to go back and get it. But I think most of the time that is where it's actually beginning to set up and dry. And you can just go, you can end up all night just going over the same spot. So as long as you get it down smooth and clean, and I did kind of a feathering stroke on all these where I just went really slow all the way across, wiped my brush with a paper towel, and then did it again. So that it just smoothed everything out nice and even all the way across. And that seemed to work pretty well. We'll see what the final product looks like. Right now it's kind of in limbo, but then on these edges that are hidden, I didn't really pay much attention. I mainly just got enough on there so it's protected. I didn't really worry about runs as much. Both of those corners are going to be against the wall. Obviously, if every edge was going to be exposed, you'd be more careful with it. Last tip, let's see here. I saw something that said not to use odorless mineral spirits when thinning. I don't know. The guy said it was milky and white. I didn't notice any difference at all. So hopefully it's not a big deal, but I did not see any difference at all, and I used that clean strip mineral spirits to thin the polyurethane a little bit. I think that helped quite a bit. It went down. Here's what I was using. I was just using, I think this is just the basic. I thought fast drying was special, but I think it's all fast drying now. I couldn't find anything that's different. And this is the warm semi-gloss, which I think we've used this before both on floors and another butcher block counter. And I really like it. I think gloss is just too shiny. It's going to show a lot of imperfections in the finish job unless you're really careful. And the semi-gloss really brings out the wood without having it this wet look where any scratch or anything is going to show. We did a butcher block countertop that was not birch. I think it was acacia. I was a little disappointed because the wood's pretty soft, but you can kind of see pencil marks where the kids have, written on a piece of paper, and it's actually kind of depressed the wood below it, which is a little odd. I didn't think that would happen, but it did, and I think if it were gloss, it would really show. You would really see it, but with it being semi-gloss, it's not as bad. So I think that's about it. The next step here is to install it. So we're going to take, I'll build, I'll get 3/4 inch, this is also birch, like legs for it. It'll rest on the back and the end there on the areas which I've shown in previous videos. And then I'll have a leg here, and we're actually going to do a leg in the middle, and then we're probably going to take one of those and divide it in half so we have a lot more shoe room. It's so deep that there's going to be quite a bit of shoe space in it. The little ledge sticks out about 2.5 inches, and then the rest will be space for shoes and boots and stuff. So we'll see. The goal here is to organize all of our stuff, so we got to find a way to make it fit. So we may put some little shelves. We raised it up a little bit. I'll go over there and show it in just a minute. So that it not only sits like a natural height bench, but also so we have a little bit of room to put a divider underneath this. We have 2 shelves underneath for shoes. All right, so I'll show that inside. And then I'll talk about one more thing that is going to be kind of a blocker to this project if we don't get it resolved. So we're kind of working through the sequencing of it. So anyways, that butcher block and this cabinet are going to go in here, and I'll show where they're going to go just to kind of tie all this together. So the whole point of this is to have better storage here in our mudroom. I've got the electrical panel cover off, which I'll explain in a minute. So you can see that ledge is where the old garage block foundation was. They finished all this off. It just has a 2x4 cap on it, just, you know, cap on top of block, just like a foundation wall. And I've built a little raised bench support. That's where the butcher block's going to go. It's going to sit in there, and then we'll have 1 3/4 inch sort of panel holding it up here, and they'll have another one in the middle to support it, and then we'll divide those horizontally. Probably divide at least one of them horizontally. Maybe we'll do both. We'll just kind of see with boot heights and other things what to do. So the big challenge right now is we've got an electrical panel right in the way, and technically this is not code to have an obstruction right in front of an electrical panel. So we're going to move it, I think is the plan. Probably not going to do it myself unless the quotes continue to come back as expensive as the first one. My hope is that we can just flip it around. So on the other side of the wall here is the garage we were just in. That's where the power comes in from the meter. This is the power that I ran, the conduit I ran out to my office. So it's on 220, and I've got a separate panel out there. So hope is to remove all this brick fascia, mount a new box there. All the wires are going to come in, maybe put a junction box at the top if we have to extend some of the wires, and then switch everything over. It'd be a pretty big project for me to tackle. I think I feel comfortable doing it. We might just be without power for 48 hours while I figure it all out, but I'd rather hire somebody to do it. So we'll see what the prices come back. But right now we're getting quotes that are quite pricey, and I'm not willing to pay, I don't think. So we'll give an update on that. In the meantime, my plan is to sort of temporarily install this. So the legs on the butcher block are going to be attached just with pocket screws with a Kreg. So it'll screw right into the butcher block. So we'll get both of those in. I'll get them all laid in and level and everything, and we'll screw those in place. I'll lay the butcher block in place, probably drill some pilot holes in the top. I think I'm just going to screw it straight to the back, since there's going to be eventually there's going to be a cabinet panel covering that area, and the cabinet that I showed just a minute ago is going to sit here with all the storage cubes in it. So we'll probably just screw it down back there, screw it down up here, and screw it down back there. And that way, with 3 screws, I can remove the whole thing, and they can do all the work they need to do. We'll probably go ahead and get the cabinet put in place, maybe put 1 screw into the wall with it so we can get it painted and all in place. As I'm saying that, I know there's a lot of trim and caulk and stuff to do, so we'll have to see how far we go there. But the point is, we really need the storage, and the electricians are probably backed up about a month, so we're going to get that at least stubbed in and sitting there and kind of get a feel for it, see if we want to make any changes to it. And then when they come, we can take it out and they can do the electrical work, and we'll go from there. Or we'll do the electrical work ourselves. So we'll see how that goes, but this is the goal. The project is to have a big bench here, storage that goes up there, eventually storage that goes all the way across the top, and then we may finish it all the way to the top. We've got tons of stuff that would be worth putting up there. The ceiling is actually quite tall, as you can see. So we'll see how it goes. Hopefully we wrap this up, or at least get it to the place where we can move on to something else in the next, I don't know, 2 weeks. I'd like to kind of have this done so I can work on some stuff in the yard during the fall while it's a good time to plant grass seed and do some outside projects. And then after that, we may move, since we're going to be working a bunch in here anyways, and we got to get the vet cart back in this garage for winter. It's taking up too much space in the other garage. We may move to finishing off this garage. I think I've mentioned that before, but I want to get everything down off the walls, get the nasty old insulation out, seal everything up, potentially do new windows, insulate it, and then finish it out so that it's Not a living space, but definitely a clean, nice shop so that if we resell the house, somebody could, you know, use it as a workout room or something like that. Probably not going to use it for all the things we use it for, but we're definitely not normal. So that's it. Sorry for the long update. This is beginning to dry. It's dried more even than the time I've been on here. You can see it's beginning to dry there. You're getting some dry spots. The edges are beginning to dry. You can see that's about what the sheen is once it's done. So it really is a lot less glossy, which you know, looks really cool with it glossy, but it looks pretty good once the semi-gloss dries as well. So I will do an update once we get this installed. I think that's probably the next step. We'll let it dry really good, let that poly really set up and harden, and then I'll build some legs for it and maybe show some of the process for that using the Craig jig. Should be pretty simple. The floor out there is not level, so we'll have some probably some shimming, and just the cut's going to be a little tricky on those legs, but I think that'll probably be the next video. This is definitely good enough if we can get all of the electrical stuff sorted out. I think that's kind of critical to getting this project to work right. So we'll come back once we have more updates. See ya.